Marhaba, and hello once again. Thank you for tuning in. I'm historian Dr. Jack Dempsey, American, living in Crete nowadays. With me is my brother and dear friend Muhammad Ismael, a historian and writer of Gaza, living in Deir al-Balah these days. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026, and since our last program a few weeks ago, we have been trying many times a week to reestablish a connection to continue making these programs about Palestinian history and life, and things have been very difficult. There's a lot of shelling going on, bombing, rockets, missiles, tanks, drones. This is the so-called ceasefire, situation normal in Israeli terms. The Israeli army is less than 300 meters now away from Muhammad's very house as the army crawls day by day deeper into Gaza and planting giant yellow painted cement blocks to create the new yellow line beyond which if you go you will be shot at. And they are squeezing once again the entire Palestinian population westward toward the sea. There is no way out at the back end of this because they don't care. They don't allow people to emigrate yet unless they have a absolutely serious medical condition, and even then you would be lucky to get out through the Rafah gate. So the darkness is descending once again, but Muhammad and I, we are dedicated to the cause of Palestinian liberation, freedom, equality, and peace in that region between Israelis and Palestinians, because that's how Muhammad sees the world. He wants to fight no one, and that has been true of the Palestinians all the way through their history. If you do your homework, that is what you will learn. So our last two programs, we returned to the subject of Shaphir, the original village in the Midland country of Palestine where Muhammad's family hailed from, and from which they were driven at gunpoint in 1948, along with about 750,000 other Palestinians. They made an arduous walk from there into refugee status in Gaza. Muhammad's father was born by the roadside under a giant sycamore tree, and from then on their family has been living in Gaza. Over the years, we covered in the first of these new three programs, three more really, about Shaphir and its aftermath. We covered that journey again in more detail. And then in the second one, we began to talk about the life of his father's generation and how they managed to survive, to establish some kind of new life there, and all the different events that surrounded them as they tried to live a peaceful, decent human life there in the Gaza territory. So, brother, today we were going to still be in what we'd call the 1950s, where your father is a very young man, and the atmosphere surrounding him was great power politics, where Egypt, Britain, France, Israel, the United States were all playing their chess games with the Palestinian people in the middle. And we are heading toward a time, the 1950s, that you probably know. In 1953, the West, its secret intelligence agencies, overthrew Mossadegh in Iran, beginning a whole new chapter of the disaster that we're looking at now. But in 1956, there was then an event called the Great Revolt. The Arab peoples and all the Palestinians were trying to negotiate some kind of stable terms for their own existence. Their labor unions turned out, launched a great strike. The British were back on their heels trying to hold on to control of the Suez Canal. And the president of Egypt, Nasser, was in the process of nationalizing the Suez Canal because it is, you could say, a natural resource belonging to Egypt, and the great powers did not like that situation at all. So, brother, thank you once again for making it. I'm glad we have a decent signal to work with today. And tell us anything you'd like to begin, and we'll continue that narrative with the Ismail family and your surrounding fellow citizens in Gaza trying to survive these great movements of political forces.
Thank you, brother, for this brilliant introduction. Yeah, we have to talk about 50s. 50s actually was a very crucial decade, was very important and a crucial decade in the history of the Palestinian people. Unfortunately, it is a gap in the books of the historians. They doesn't focus on this important decade. Directly, they are jumping from Nakba to Naksa. They are jumping from 1948. They jump to 1967. So they are leaving
Yes.
in the middle this very important decade, which was 50s.
And the
In the
Nakba, as
beginning,
you say, brother, the Nakba is the great catastrophe when they first threw out most of the Palestinians from their main living territories. And the Naksa was the little catastrophe where there were many
yeah,
changes that were very deadly for the Palestinian people, right?
yeah, yeah. Thank you for this clarification. Actually, Nakba means catastrophe in English,
Yep.
while Naksa means fiasco in English. Yeah. So this lost gap in the middle, I mean 50s, unfortunately, no one, maybe rare historians who are talking and making deep study about this very important decade. In the beginning of 50s, people who used to immigrate from Palestine into Gaza Strip. Most of them, unfortunately, were living like the animals inside the jungles. They were sleeping and living in the wilderness. Their roof over their heads was the sky. They were living very miserable life, very primitive life. UNRWA was in its first beginning. UNRWA was not making a lot of difference in the life of the people. By the year 1953, UNRWA has started to make some housing for the people. I mean, UNRWA started to fund building some huts, some humble houses for those refugees. So
And
instead of
UNRWA
living
means
in the wilderness,
UNRWA means the United Nations Relief Works Agency, right? So there was some
yeah,
international assistance for the Palestinians, but not very successful. Excuse me, brother.
yeah. And UNRWA, by the way, was established in 1949, the following year after Nakba. Before UNRWA, most of the aids were coming from USA, from the Quakers, and from another American association or foundation called CARE. So CARE and Quakers were helping the Palestinian refugees before the establishment of Nakba. It was a humble project for housing. So they are not going to give you a concrete house or a big house. It was like huts, like small houses. For the refugees, it was a good step to move from wilderness to a humble house. It was a good step. So you can save yourself, you can save your children from the wild animals, from snakes, from dogs, from dangerous insects, etc. In the same year, in the same year, 1953,
53.
also the international community started to make a new project.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have lost Muhammad's signal. It seems that every time we start to get into anything substantive, this happens. So bear with us just a minute or two. Muhammad always makes great haste to get back online, and we will try to continue. I hope at least that you'll consider this a testimony for the conditions that they're living under. We try and we try to communicate. I don't have this problem with Zoom in any other way when I use it with other people, but here he is back again, as promised. So in 1953, brother, they started to get some shelters over their heads, some medicine, some kind of international care, as that organization was named. Please continue.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, in parallel with the internal housing project inside Gaza Strip itself, we have witnessed another housing project in Sinai Peninsula. International community used to make this project for the refugees who are looking for much better life. In Sinai, you will possess some land so you can practice the agriculture. You will be enjoying much better life than choosing housing inside the Gaza Strip.
Yes.
But this project was faced with a huge refusal from the refugees in Gaza Strip. They refused this project, and they organized huge marches here in the streets of Gaza. They expressed their big refusal. We are refugees. We need to return to our lands in Palestine.
Yes.
By this project, you are going to erase our dream of return. So people used to make a big revolt against this project, so it failed. It didn't achieve any success.
And the United Nations, Muhammad, the United Nations had voted that yes, the Palestinians have the right to return to their homes. They had the right, and they still have the right to return to their homes. But as we've seen in the, 80 years since then, they have done nothing.
Yes. Of course, Israelis in that time, we are talking about the era of David Ben-Gurion and Moshe Sharit. Actually, Sharit was much more open man. He was elastic. He was a progressive man. But Ben-Gurion was so strict.
Your audio is breaking up, brother. Please, brother, please repeat what you have said. Your audio, your voice was broken. Please repeat what you just said. Sharif?
Yeah. During the early and middle 50s, Israel was governed by two characters, by David Ben-Gurion and Moshe Sharit. Maybe Sharit was an open man, a pragmatic man, but Ben-Gurion was so strict. He was hindering the process of return. He refused to let any Palestinian to go back to his land inside Palestine.
Yes.
So, United Nations has made the resolution of return for the Palestinians. You have the right of return, but on land, in practice, Palestinians were not allowed to go back to their stolen lands inside the historical Palestine. Yeah.
And meanwhile, brother, with President Nasser in Egypt trying to nationalize control of the Suez Canal for Egypt, the other European powers invaded Egypt to reestablish their own control over that land. Everywhere you look in the Arab countries in that time, the European powers were intervening to stop any buildup of power among the Arab people.
Yeah. In the middle of 50s, we had 80,000 troopers, I mean British troopers, were deploying along Suez Canal.
Yeah.
80,000 soldiers, 80,000 British soldiers were deploying along the canal. This deployment for the British, for the Britons, was hindering the deployment of the Egyptian army in Sinai, because you cannot flow from the Egyptian mainland to Sinai Peninsula. You
Yes.
have to cross the canal.
Yes.
So the main duty for the British troops who were deployed on the canal was not protecting the canal itself, but it was to protect Israel. They used to protect Israel by hindering the flow of the Egyptian tanks and artillery and infantry towards Sinai. Yeah. Egyptians have started some sort of, they started to carry out some sort of guerrilla war against the Britons in the canal. They killed a lot, injured a lot. And after that, Nasser has decided to copy the same process in Gaza. He sent so many commandos to Gaza, and he asked the Egyptian commanders in Gaza to infiltrate Israel and to attack the Israeli army in Negev and in southern Israel. On the other side, Israelis started to infiltrate inside Gaza and to attack the Egyptian army inside Gaza. The year 1955 was very crucial year, because on February 1955 we have two groups of Israeli commandos infiltrated Gaza, and they ambushed two military bases for the Egyptians in Gaza.
To ambush.
They murdered big number of Egyptians on the soil of Gaza. So we used to have this sort of clashes between the Israeli army and the Egyptian army, especially in this year. Most of the attacks were taking place in this year, 1955. So the clashes between two armies in this year, 1955, was one of the most important reasons of the war, which took place in the following year, 1956.
And all this time, the Palestinian people who have been turned into refugees and crowded into Gaza, they are just trying to survive. Everybody around them is fighting for control, and the Palestinian people are just trying, as usual, to survive between what the great powers, they call them, what the great powers want.
Yeah, of course. In the summer of 1955, so many civilians were killed in the massacre of Khan Yunis. Israeli commando team infiltrated Khan Yunis in order to attack some Egyptian soldiers. But who paid the price? not only the Egyptians, but also the Palestinians.
Yes.
Dozens of innocent people were killed in Khan Yunis. So, as you just mentioned, Palestinians were trapped in the middle between the two fighting forces, the Egyptians and the Israelis. Yeah. And Egypt was a very poor country. They were not able to send much aid to Gaza. Yeah. So you can imagine how much our ancestors were suffering in the 50s. Egypt is actually a poor country. Yeah. They cannot feed themselves. So how they will send us food, grains, aids, clothes? They were not able. They were not able to help us as Palestinians in Gaza.
And that is a huge crime in itself, brother, because Egypt is not a poor country. Egypt is rich or was rich with oil. And they were exporting all their resources out to the European countries, the industrialized nations. All the wealth of their country was being taken from them, and they had a military dictatorship to control the people while they are being robbed, as usual, by the colonial powers.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, brother. But also they have big population, so the per capita will not be big. The per capita will be not good. If you
Yes.
try to make comparison between the income and the number of population, Egypt is so crowded country. They have a very big population.
So tell us more about Gaza, about what your father and the family were experiencing. What kinds of stories and memories do you recall them telling you about, brother, from the 1950s and all this
Yeah,
terrible conflict?
yeah. Work, the work in Gaza was so limited. You cannot find work, so you will not earn income. You will not earn income. That's why most of people were suffering from poverty. Yeah. In the following decade, in the 60s, oil was discovered in the Gulf countries. So Palestinians started to join Egyptian and Syrian universities, and after their graduation, they were granted some job vacancies in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and the other Gulf countries.
Yes.
So, in the next decade, the decade of 60s, we started to witness some economical improvement in the life of Palestinians, because, as I told you, so many job vacancies were provided in the oil countries. Talking about but generally, the decade of 50s was a decade of poverty, malnutrition, suffering, miserable life, black or dark conditions. So it was so bad decade for the Palestinians. In the year 1956, we have witnessed the so-called Suez crisis.
Yes.
Egypt was attacked by three powers, by three countries. Britain, who used to deploy on the canal. France,
Yes.
who had some investments in the canal itself, and
Investments. Yeah.
Israel. Gaza Strip was attacked.
Yeah. So France,
Gaza
Britain.
Strip was attacked on
Yep.
Gaza Strip was attacked on November 2nd, 19, very bad day. Uh,
Go ahead. We're just barely getting it, brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Gaza Strip was invaded by the Israeli army on the day November 2nd, 1956. Actually, November 2nd is a very bad day for the Palestinians. It carries very bad demons. Why?
We're doing our best, ladies and
Because
gentlemen.
in this day,
We are losing your audio,
uh,
brother.
this day, November
November 2nd.
2nd,
Uh,
actually, in November 2nd, marks the Gaza Strip in the 1956.
and there we are, ladies and gentlemen. I think Israel has declared that our program is over. We're sure that they watch and listen in every time so that we don't say anything that's forbidden, and they break up our signal as soon as the day wears into the afternoon. I want to thank you for your patience, for your interest in these subjects, and we hope that Muhammad was able to make clear that the suffering, the deprivation, the brutality never ended from the time that they first left their village, Shaphir, to the Gaza territory and became refugees, that the great powers were playing their chess games for money and oil and, of course, power. And we're going to try again in the very near future to complete this narrative because, as Muhammad said, we want to fill in the gaps between the NAKBA and the 1967 war. It's the direct ancestral history of Muhammad's family. And we're very grateful for your patience and for your interest in these subjects. And I know Muhammad is hugely grateful because that's the important thing to him, that the Palestinian story be told and heard. If you want to send some kind of aid, it would be the only thing allowed would be financial. But if you do, please look under more here with the video, and you can find ways to contact us, and we will see that every single penny goes directly to Muhammad, his family, and his community. We have done this already for several years. There has never been a problem, and our integrity is spotless. So we really appreciate your time. We will tune in again soon. We hope you will too. And we will go on with this narrative in any way that we have to. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We hope for peace and justice for everybody. Thank you.